Women, especially young women, are yearning for something different. And if we don't recognize that yearning and explain to them how that yearning is valid, although it may be rooted in something not completely authentic, that yearning is valid, and here's how to satisfy that yearning in a sustainable and financially stable way. If we don't do that, these trad influencers will lead them to a life of suffering. Hey, bestie! Welcome to the Spoiled Girly Support Group podcast, where we talk about how to get that bag while also securing your own bag. I'm your host, Elle, and let's get into it. On today's episode, we are talking about the trad wife to food stamps pipeline, what the trad influencers don't want you to know. If you find the trad wife lifestyle or aspects of the trad lifestyle appealing, don't feel bad, because a lot of us can relate. These trad influencers are so good at marketing it to us. But it can be a dangerous lifestyle to partake in if you do not secure yourself with education and investments. In short, always be getting your bag no matter what. And your favorite trad influencers, honestly, they're working, they're getting that bag, okay? They're influencers, they work from home. So can we use some discernment and see that the trad influencers, they are influencers. They are still financially securing themselves, all while promoting this lifestyle where a woman doesn't work. And at the end of the day, if it is a woman's choice to be a trad wife, so be it. But what we don't support is disadvantaging yourself because you fed into this lifestyle, this online aesthetic that you did not fully understand. Can we not? We have a lot to cover today, but before we get into it, I need you to hit the like, subscribe, and the notification bell so you never miss a Spoiled Girly episode. With that being said, let's get into it. Here's what the trad influencers don't want you to know. Number one, and most obvious, is being a trad wife opens you up for financial mistreatment. Number two, being a 100% genuine, authentic trad wife in the traditional sense is virtually impossible in an age of women's legislative liberation. Number three, being a modern trad wife can only be achieved with enough financial security if you have the privilege of either generational wealth and or full-time passive income. And number four, you don't need to be a trad wife. You can admire aspects of it and incorporate them into your life, but you don't need to be a trad wife, okay? Anyway, let's define what a trad wife is.
If you are not familiar with the term tradwife, it is a woman who chooses to live a more traditional life with ultra-traditional gender roles. So the man goes outside the house, works, provides for the family. The woman stays home, and she's the homemaker. She takes care of the home and the children if there are any. The misconception about the tradwife movement, it's not really a movement, nobody's pushing it. People are typically just living it and maybe showcasing their lifestyle like me. And we believe our place, specifically us as individuals, believe our purpose is to be homemakers. It doesn't mean that we are trying to take away what women fought for. There are a lot of people trying to make this a sinister thing or put some other darker meaning behind the term tradwife. Nobody is doing that. No tradwife TikTokers are saying every woman's place is in their home. We as individuals are just choosing to be homemakers. That's all. Tradwives also believe that they should submit to their husbands and serve their husbands and family, and that triggers people because the words submit and serve, it makes women think that we're saying that we're less than a man. That's not what we're saying. Tradwives just believe that they are here as women for a different role, equally as important though. It's 2022, women should have the choice to be homemakers or not without being judged. And women should also be able to use the term tradwife, which means traditional wife, and not be shunned for wanting to be more traditional.
Okay, that sounds reasonable enough, but is it?
Imagine this. The tradwife life didn't work out. You have a 10-year gap in your resume, 4 kids that need to be taken care of while he is off living with another woman, so now you're at the food stamps office trying to see when your application will be approved.
Long story short, being a trad wife opens you up for financial mistreatment. Let's get into the comments.
I'm sorry, I learned this too. I was the one saying he would never, but he did. I had my kids and nothing else, but I did it and so will you. Always have your own income. Always. This is why I always say have your own money and a skill set, regardless if you work inside the home or not. I was a trad wife, but I got my degree before I had my son. And thank goodness, because yep, he left me too.
Always be getting your own bag. If you choose to stay home or work part-time or decrease your participation in the workplace to prioritize your family, at the very least, you need to have some sort of marketable skill. This is why I always tell you, if you have the opportunity, get your education first. First and foremost, okay? Get educated. I don't care whatever type of education it is, but something. Okay, something that will allow you to make more than minimum wage in the event that it doesn't work out. Okay, in the event that another person who is out of your control, because we cannot control other people, Okay, we can only control ourselves. In the event that this other person doesn't hold up their end of the bargain, you'll be okay. Okay, at the very least, get some education. Get a skill set, okay? Basic writing skills, basic marketing skills, basic computer or software skills, knowledge of corporate culture, knowing a trade, like something. And having at the bare minimum your own marketable skill allows you to leave just in case, okay? You have your fun money and you have your run money. You have your fun skills and you have your run skills, okay? Just in case. Speaking of marketable skills, let's talk about today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives with thousands of classes led by pros across film, illustration, design, freelance, productivity, and more. This new year, invest in yourself and your goals by starting a learning journey on Skillshare to take your career, skill, or side hustle to the next level. If you're not sure where to start, Skillshare designed learning paths to help you get from novice to pro in no time. Learning paths are hand-picked classes meant to be taken in order that build on one another, reinforcing lessons. They're available in a range of experience levels from beginner to advanced in a variety of categories, including design, productivity, creative freelancing, tools and software like Procreate and Blender, marketing, and more. I just finished this class called Your Creative Business, Build It, Brand It, Launch It, and I learned so much about how to monetize my own skills on my own pace, on my own time. So, love that class. The first 500 people to use my link below will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So check it out to start learning. Back to the topic. Let's read more comments.
I was a trad wife. I loved it so much, but after 8 years, my marriage ended. I started over with nothing. 5 years later, I'm still trying to find stability. Was married 6.5 years, most of that as a trad wife, until he decided he was entitled to have an affair and throw everything we built away.
Every time I come across these comments, I am so thankful to these women for sharing their stories. Social media, especially TikTok, has become such a source of truth for women. And sometimes it's truth we don't want to hear. Sometimes it's truth that shatters our idealization of certain lifestyles that we want to partake in. Like, let's be real. The appeal of tradwife life is seeing women who look so relaxed, soft-spoken, in linen dresses and aprons, making sourdough bread in the middle of a workday. Like, who wouldn't want to do that? It's such a vibe. It's like cottagecore, but your real life. Especially for women who have a contrasting lifestyle. Maybe you're still girl bossing and hustling at a job that you no longer want to work at, or you're ready for a change. You just want something different. Like, if your life is contrasting to the tradwife life, like cottagecore kind of vibe, I don't know why. The tradwives, they all have like one aesthetic. Is that true in real life? I don't know. But that's the appeal, right? It is so different from a lot of the realities that women are living right now. So if you are that type of person who is the complete opposite of a trad wife and you're tired of living that lifestyle, it is so predictable that you may find yourself idealizing the trad wife lifestyle just because it is so different. And let's talk about me for a second. I had to check in with myself when I found myself idolizing the trad wife lifestyle. Like, it's such a vibe. I'm not gonna lie, like it is a vibe. And I had to check in with myself and I'm like, why is it appealing to me? Why is it appealing to women? Why is it appealing to a lot of women? Okay, what's the psychology behind this? And obviously, tradwife lifestyle, there's a reason why that's not lived by a lot of women nowadays. Okay, because it does open you up to all these penalties if you partake in it with eyes closed. Okay, so I'm like, why am I, a woman who is not living the tradwife lifestyle, who was living a lifestyle that is completely the opposite of the tradwives, why do I find the tradwife lifestyle appealing? And why are women like me finding the tradwife lifestyle appealing? And one big reason is mere exposure effect. It's basically because there's so much tradwife content out there and everyone is watching it and it's being pushed on your feeds all the time, simply by being exposed to it, you are being trained to like it, okay? So that's the mere exposure effect. Simply by exposing someone to something, they will grow to like it. Even if they didn't like it before, but just keep feeding it to them and they'll end up liking it. So that's why. And another big reason is we're tired. Okay?
Imagine how tired we are.
That vibe. Okay, we are tired. A lot of women who are in their masculine competing with men in men's spaces, thinking that that's what will make them be perceived as valuable. Okay? You're already valuable. Okay? Non-negotiable. But thinking that other people will perceive that you have high value if you perform your value in male spaces,
Imagine how tired we are.
that's the vibe, because we're tired. That's why this complete 180 lifestyle of the tradwife life, that's why it appeals to a lot of women. It is no surprise that the logical consequence of the girl boss hyperproductivity era is the soft girl do not disturb tradwife-ish era, okay? And let's segue into something that was very healing for me to read.
Perhaps I find so much comfort in career because it's easier to demonstrate value there relative to contribution.
Now, we're not going to talk about whether working outside of the home or inside the home is better, because at the end of the day, it's all about what's better for you. But what we will talk about, however, is that both of these things, working outside of the home, working inside the home, having a corporate job or homemaking, they're both jobs, okay? They're both jobs. They are both labor. And as women, we feel this pressure to always have a job, to always labor, and most notably, demonstrate value while working a job. And the reason why a lot of us in our girl boss era preferred to work paid jobs, W-2, 1099 type of jobs, is because we wanted to most easily and most visibly quantify our labor and therefore demonstrate our value. Because we believed that to be perceived as valuable, we must perform the right kind of labor, the W-2, 1099 taxable kind of labor. We've been taught to prioritize only the things that come with a dollar amount to them, the things that most directly feed into the capitalistic system. You cannot put a number on how much your partner smiles, how his cortisol level drops when he comes home to a clean, happy home with a happy, relaxed partner. There's no dollar amount to that. You cannot put a number on how much your children appreciate you staying home with them and them getting to spend a whole day with their primary caretaker, teaching them their vowels, baking them muffins. Like, there is no dollar amount to that. You cannot put a number on how much your dog's behavior has improved because you stopped leaving him at home for 9 hours a day. There is no dollar amount to that. And because we women have been conditioned to value only what others can easily perceive and therefore value, we have learned to devalue what matters to us most. Just because you don't get paid an outside income with a clear dollar amount, with a clear number for the things that you do for free, doesn't mean that they're unimportant, doesn't mean that they don't matter, doesn't mean that you're not doing enough. And let's talk about the quote.
It's easier to demonstrate value there.
Let's talk about why we feel this need to always demonstrate our value. Just by existing, we already benefit everyone who comes in contact with us. And adding to that, us being generous, kind-hearted, spoiled girlies living in their light, by default, we want to take care of others, okay? Everyone around us is spoiled because that's just our default. We want to give, on top of our default being already giving. Okay? By default, we want to take care of others. We want to consider others, cherish others, make others feel warm and welcomed. There is literally no other way to live life for us. That is what we bring to the world. When you are a spoiled girly living in her light, like, everyone who comes in contact with you, their life gets better because you bring that into their life. So on top of that, we feel like we have to do more. And I'm telling you, you need to do less. Do less, be more. Now, the no nuance Nellies who don't have two brain cells to rub together, they will interpret me saying all of that as me telling you to quit your job and be a tradwife. But let me spell it out for you, no nuance Nelly. You don't need to perform usefulness to be valued, to be loved. Because simply existing as a woman, you're useful. Simply by existing as a woman, you provide value. And best believe that whether you choose to labor inside the home or outside the home or a mix of both, the right person for you will value you. Okay? And even if you don't want another person, you don't want a male partner, you don't want anything, you're fine. You're perfectly fine. You're enough. Okay? And the key to designing a life that fulfills you and is in alignment with your desires is to ask yourself, what do you really want? Okay? What are the values that you want to live out? And what is the lifestyle that will most fulfill you? And on top of all of that, how are you going to make that a reality while securing yourself emotionally, financially? Okay? So don't get carried away with the trad aesthetics, no matter how vibes they are, because a lot of the time it's just that. It's just an aesthetic. And let's get into this. I have beef with people who talk about this topic and then talk down on the women who find the appeal of tradwife life. There's a reason why it's a popular aesthetic right now. It's because women, especially young women, are consuming it. And instead of shaming all the women who are tired of the girl bossing, tired of the invading men's spaces to prove our worth, thus sending the message that female spaces are inherently of lower worth, Instead of shaming all these women, it is so much more helpful to get to the root of their desire for slowness, for ease, for comfort. And honestly, these things are not just desires. They are a need. They are a necessity for women. So can we not crap on women whose desires are different from ours? Just because your desires are different from mine doesn't mean they're unimportant. Okay? Women, especially young women, are yearning for something different. And if we don't recognize that yearning and explain to them how that yearning is valid, although it may be rooted in something not completely authentic, that yearning is valid, and here's how to satisfy that yearning in a sustainable and financially stable way. If we don't do that, these trad influencers will lead them to a life of suffering. Let's do one more comment on how being a tradwife sets you up for financial failure.
That's me right now, 4 kids at home for 10 years and going through a divorce and losing my home.
That's just one story out of many. You can't be a tradwife without feminism. I saw a video with this exact title and I cannot find it now. I hate it when that happens. I saved it and now I can't find it. But that was the title of the video and it stuck with me. So although we have a complicated relationship with feminism right now and all the different types of feminism, it's complicated. We're in a situationship because there's no one definition. So we have a complicated relationship with her. But that title stuck with me because it's true. You cannot be a tradwife without feminism. This brings us to point number 2. Whatever version of tradwifery we're seeing now, it can never be the traditional version of tradwife that we know to exist in the 1950s and the time before that. It can only ever be modern tradwifery because we now live in a modern world. We now have these modern conditions such as the right to vote, own property, work the same jobs men do, because let's be real, women have always been working, okay? But now we can work the same jobs that men do. And now we have the lack of overt gatekeeping in higher education and all the modern blessings that we women have today thanks to the earlier waves of feminism. And let's get into this because we have semi-beef with the feminists, or the feminists have semi-beef with us, because for some feminists, we are too regressive, and for some, we are too progressive, and for some, we're just plain wrong, okay? So, I don't know, it's complicated. And the thing is, the work that we do here in the Spoiled Girly Support Group is we're trying to give language to everything we're feeling and seeing, and then navigating all the systems that we live under as they are today, okay? All while trying to lead contented lives. Is that too much to ask? We're done being angry, we're done fighting, we're just here to vibe. And honestly, the MO is malicious compliance. Watch them change the system when it no longer benefits them, okay? They designed the rules and we're just following it to a T. Watch them change the rules when we start winning. Okay, I'm already predicting it. I called it. Anyway, the products of feminism, such as women now having their own bank accounts, having their own jobs, legal protections in case of dissolution of marriage, child support, and alimony, these things make being a tradwife nowadays less dangerous. But they're still not enough. Women also need to be aware of the other financial mechanisms that they can use to protect themselves. And these financial mechanisms include a prenup, separate premarital and postmarital investments and assets, education, marketable skills, and explicit equity in the business the husband is visibly building. Because women are the unseen, unpaid, quiet business partners in the ventures of men. And it's time we get recognition, explicit equity, and dividends for all that. Adding to this point that whatever version of tradwife we are seeing now can never be the traditional version of tradwife that these trad influencers like to push on us. We are all living in the modern world, tradwives included.
You can be a stay-at-home mom without being a tradwife, which is what modern tradwives are. However, if you're a married woman incorporating modern-day female rights, that includes getting an education, having an income, receiving an inheritance from your husband, and accepting divorce settlements, then you are not a tradwife.
And it's true, the words that we use to describe things are very important. And for the women who find these aspects of tradwife life attractive, such as living a slower pace of life, focusing on homemade, homegrown food, staying home to focus on the kids, homeschooling the kids, being a stay-at-home wife or mother, if you find that attractive, which a lot of us do, that is perfectly okay. I think a lot of us would prefer aspects of that lifestyle over aspects of other lifestyles. But you need to be in discernment, okay? Speaking of discernment, bestie, you need to be for real. The only women who can be a full-on tradwife and be financially secure have one or both of these two things: generational wealth and or full-time passive income. Think about it. The tradwives that we idealize online, they either have generational wealth or full-time passive or semi-passive income. These women will be fine, but you probably won't be. So can you use your discernment? We already talked about how you're not privileged enough to pursue your passion in this class, so check it out. But that is in the context of career. But the same thing applies to being a tradwife too. A lot of us are simply not privileged enough to be a tradwife safely. And as we discussed in that class, we either get mad about that or we get paid, okay? Don't get mad, get paid. So here's how to get paid. You don't need to be a tradwife. But if you want, you can pick and choose aspects of the tradwife life and incorporate them into your life in a sustainable and financially stable way. Obviously, it's all up to you, but here's some guidelines. Number 1, get your education. Any sort of education, just get one, okay? That's a non-negotiable. Number 2, start investing your own income or at least learn how to invest. Number 3, choose a good partner who acknowledges your need for financial security in the form of separate marital investments and assets. Number 4, prenups and insurance. Get a prenup. Number 5, always be getting your bag via continuous education or passive investing, or continued employment or small business or monetized creative endeavor. I know that's a lot, but it's actually not. All of that is the bare minimum, okay? I want you to live your best life and be fulfilled by your best life, and there's absolutely no shame in finding aspects of the tradwife life appealing, because it is. Okay, but can we be in discernment? Like, can we not be no nuance Nellies and be blind going into these things and then waking up 10 years later and then you're at the food stamps office? Okay, the tradwife to food stamps pipeline is real, and I don't want you to get into that pipeline. Okay, that's all I have for you today. I just wanted to let you know that you have so much inherent worth and value in a world that is hell bent on devaluing you. Now get that bag, bestie.